Welcome to the E-Show with Neil Ravin. Founded in 2013, the EHL has become the college placement leader on the East Coast. Sit back and learn more about the next step in your junior hockey career.
Welcome to the E-Show, presented by the Penalty Box Foundation. The Foundation's mission centers around their daily motto, we take care of our own, as they help out all of those within the hockey community who've experienced a catastrophic event. Learn more at penaltyboxfoundation.org. What's up? My name is Neil Ravin, and this is episode number 121 of the E-Show. On this week's episode, we shift back down to the South Division and feature Team Maryland. It's hard to believe that this fall will mark the start of the 5th season for the program in the EHL, as well as Josh Fusco's 4th year at the helm. Fusco joins the podcast to reflect on the 2021-22 season and discuss the resources his program provides to all of their players. To wrap things up, the E-Crew reunites and puts together the latest top 10 of the offseason. I'm joined now by Josh Fusco, the head coach and GM of Team Maryland. How's it going, Josh?
It's going great, Neil. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for coming on the podcast, and let's jump right into it. When we look back on the 21-22 season, what are the first thoughts that come to mind for you?
Excitement. Honestly, I think coming after the COVID year and how stressful that was of the year and all the hurdles and everything we had to climb, like going into last season, there was a lot of buzz and a lot of excitement, and the group of boys that we had here and the staff and everybody, like there was just a lot of excitement to the season. Obviously, I think statistically we had a pretty good year. Didn't finish the way we wanted to, but there's a lot of pride here, and I think that was the focus at the end was how we were able to bounce back after a year from previous, and we were able to have a lot of positives, and there wasn't really any setbacks. And for me personally, the work that's been put in, not just by myself, but several staff members and people that I have on board here, a part of us, to be able to finally get a good base with the local players and be able to intermingle and kind of establish our program. I think that obviously, like, you come into a program or an organization and you try and set your mark, and after year one and then going into year two and going through the whole COVID stuff, last year I was able to finally relax a little bit, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And it's not that you always enjoy what you do, and I think to just be able to give the boys everything 100% and put your 100% in, and the focus that we had, it was good to see. And like I said, you didn't finish the season how you wanted to, but there's a lot of positives to take away from it, and to be able to move forward and continue the success. This offseason, that's what I'm excited about as well.
I think that brings up a lot of great points, because this year coming up is the 5th year of Team Maryland, your 4th year with the program. So you get in, you have your first year. Then the second year is the COVID season that you mentioned, that you didn't play a home game in your actual home building until the postseason. And then finally we get to your 3rd year, and you get to actually kick off the season with 3 games this past year in your actual home building, Pawnee Orchard. Being able to start the season like that after what had taken place the year before, was it almost like an instant weight off your shoulders?
Oh, 100%. And that's what I mean. Like, we had a lot of excitement. I was excited, as training camp started approaching, how giddy everybody was and ready to go. And then I personally, I didn't try and make the schedule that way. It kind of just happened, I think by fate, and that was definitely something that, like, everybody was just like, wow, like, we have home games. And guys that were here, the year before that played at Piney, and we have a great facility, and playing at home is always special, right? And then you had guys from the COVID year that returned, and they didn't get to experience that until the playoffs. And then even during the playoffs, like it was limited capacity. So like there might have been a couple billet families in the building, but yeah, it was nice. And I tell you what, you're able to relax and you're able to enjoy the moment, not just as a coach or a human, right? Like you're able to enjoy it for the kids and soak it up, and to be able to go stand in the runway and watch them take the ice for warm-ups, and the music was going, and to see faces and people in the building. Yeah, it was pretty settling, pretty relaxing. And it seems like it was an eternity ago too, right?
Sure.
Like that first game, or the start of the season, it seems like it was forever ago now, but you carry that. And I think a lot of our success, especially if you look at wins and losses, it came from that emotion, that excitement, right? Being able to have home games and being able to be relaxed, and you're not traveling an hour and a half to go play a home game. And you're able to do things the right way, right? And that's what I've always preached, is we got to do things the right way. And it's about the kids, it's about their careers, and how do you handle and manage these guys, and it goes beyond X's and O's, and it goes beyond the players, and you got to have an environment for them to be in and be happy with. And it was finally, I'll go before those first home games, to start training camp in your own locker room. That was where the weight was lifted off the shoulders right there, for sure.
And I mentioned before, this is going to be your 4th year with Team Maryland. It's actually your 6th year in the league when you you include the Wilkes-Barre seasons. And this is no shot back at your time in Wilkes-Barre, but I actually got the chance to come down and actually see your facility for a game this year, and I was pretty much blown away. Can you talk more about just what Piney Orchard has to offer your program?
Yeah, like I said, try and do things the right way. And I think obviously it's junior hockey or they go to college, but I want these boys acting like professionals, and if they're going to act like professionals, we got to treat them like professionals. So it starts with our facilities, obviously, and obviously we shared a facility with the Maryland Black Bears in North American Hockey League, and we're able to share everything together. So right down from our weight room being right down the hallway from our locker rooms, the coach's office is all in the same hallway. Both locker rooms are across from each other. Right down to having a video room and having a platform for these guys to be able to spend time, quality time in the building, to grow, right, and develop as a hockey player and as a person. And you go right down from the facility to the staff, right? We have on-site athletic trainer, strength and conditioning program for these kids, and I think we upped the ante too this year with having a full-time equipment manager, supplying these guys with services to help better them and help them stay ready and be able to compete day in and day out and do their job, essentially. So being able to have that all under one roof is I think absolutely paramount to be a top tier organization in any league, really, but especially in our league, to be able to give our players what we give them is a priority. It's the number one priority that I have on my plate. So the locker room and I think my first year here was the first year they put the second sheet in here at Piney. So, having the ice available majority of the day for our players, again, going back to our staff, having people available to work with our players individually or spend some extra time with our players. That's the priority, and that's treating our guys the right way. And like you said, you saw the facilities and you saw the arena and the environment, even just for a home game. I think we were playing 87, so obviously there was a little bit more jam in the building that day, and it's special. I've said it before. I think it's I think it's a playground for a junior hockey player. And we allow it to be that way, right? And that door to, they have their own entrance to the facility. I think, when you have little bitty things like that, it kind of makes a player feel like he's in the big time. So,
Yeah, for sure.
It's just, like I said, doing things the right way, treating our players the right way, giving them a home to have success. It's a toolbox, and we're giving them a box of tools, and what they want to build with those tools is up to them. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's there for them.
Yeah, for sure. And it's led to increased win totals every year, increased commitment totals every year. And I guess this next question is kind of two parts in that. Does it feel like you're already heading into your fourth year at Team Maryland? And the second part to that, how do you guys keep raising the bar another level higher than the previous year?
Yeah, it's been a quick 3 years. But it's been fun, and I have to thank my ownership for that, and I have to thank Robin, our president, and I have to thank our whole the arena staff. How they treat us, and the availability that they, to use the facilities the way we do, and to give us the facilities that we have. They've made my job easy. Not that it's always easy, right? But
yeah,
it hasn't felt like 3 years. It's been a lot of fun to be able to see where this organization's gone, and the success that we've had. I think every day is just a blessing with that, and that's kind of how I run into the next season. You look back on it and you can reflect, and then you say, okay, how do I get to the next step? Or, I think a big precedence there is a lot of win a championship, right? And that's, everybody has that goal, I think, at the end of the day, deep down inside. But really, the job is to get these kids to the next step in their hockey careers. And that's kind of how you up the ante, and that's kind of how you raise the bar up, and you kind of step up to the plate. There is the next crop of kids. You have to do a job for them. And then I guess you look back, okay, what did I do last year? What did we do last year? What can be better? What teaching points do we need to come across? What do we need to spend more time on with players? Obviously, in the recruiting process, you get to learn guys, and you get to learn what they need. And, it's picking that apart. And I'll go right back to the previous question. It's treating these kids the right way. They want to be taken care of, and it's about trusting your players, and it's about them trusting you. They're putting their careers in your hands, and you have to put 100% into everything that you do. And that's where I get my satisfaction with this, is helping these kids and seeing their growth. And when they get that commitment, or they get that call up, or whatever it may be, that success right there is how I raise the bar. And I mean, I think you look at commitment numbers and stuff like that, and obviously, numbers don't lie at the end of the day. But being a part of this league has been special. And, I think there's a lot of guys that are in this league that make you want to be better. And that's another way to keep raising the bar, and keep having success, and try and outdo the previous season. You look at other guys, and you look at other organizations, and you kind of learn from each other, and you kind of help each other out. And I think silently we all push each other in a certain way. And that's what's been great about being a part of the league, and having the relationships that we have. Really at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to.
And I think that's a great transition, because I think that 1 through 19, we have as much parity in a league as I see in all of sports, honestly. But let's not even talk about 1 through 19. Let's just talk about 1 through 4 in the South Division. I mean, this past year, how difficult, but how enjoyable at the same time was it to be a part of the South Division?
Oh, Neil, I'll tell you what, like it was a battle every day. Like I said, like you pick your players apart and you find out what their needs are and their wants, and it's about making the players better. And I think that honestly, at the end of the day, helped our players as well, the competitiveness. But I mean, the South, it was a buzzsaw, and I think real early on in the season, if you were to ask all four of us coaches, we all would have said it's going to come down to the end. This is going to be a long year. Strap in, let's get ready. And you know what? Like I had a feeling this question was going to come up, so I kind of prepared myself a little bit mentally here. But I think at the end of the day, it was like everybody went through a slump. If you look at it,
Yep.
every team went through a period of time where things just weren't working for them. And it wasn't that we weren't playing well. It was just we were the fourth team in the division to be last at the table when it came to going into a slump. And everybody kept getting better. And I think it definitely, again, like coaches push each other. So we pushed each other, and I know we had a lot of fun as coaches. I know we had a lot of fun in the division. But it was nice to see the growth of the South. It was nice to see how competitive it was. It was nice to see, obviously the wins and losses. But if you pick it apart, right, like 1 through 4, it's any one of us could have finished at the top, right? And any one of us, that the playoffs and all that stuff. And I think I gotta say it, hats off to the 87s and Adam. And it was nice to finally see a championship come to the South for sure. But
that's a great point, because I was going to ask you about that. Does seeing a South champion give you a sense of satisfaction? I know you'd rather see it be you, of course, but does it give you like a little satisfaction that it justifies just how tough that division was?
Yeah, for sure. And I think obviously being competitors and stuff, right? You're like, I don't want them to win, or I can say that about anybody. But we've developed some great relationships as a staff down here in the South, all across the board. Mark and Adam, obviously. It definitely put a little knife in the side of me, and seeing definitely seeing them win a championship though was, it gives you that extra motivation, right? And you can't be any more happier for them. And to have it here in the South, I think it raises the bar for all of us, and it raises the bar for our division. But it's definitely satisfying. It's satisfying to see the hard work that was put in over the years. What do we say, going into my 6th year in the league, to finally see a championship come to this division is definitely special all across the board. And you kind of feel like you're a part of it. And I say that in the sense, like you feel a part of their championship because you battled with them all year. Yeah. And they had to go through you at some point in time, and they had to go through us at some point in time, and do that dance. And whether it was us winning a game or them winning a game, at the end of the day, you had to go through each other. And I was definitely kind of, watching the finals, you're kind of on edge a little bit, and it was nice to see different teams, and it was nice to see the competitiveness of the playoffs, and to be able to watch the 87s there in the finals and ultimately win it. It was kind of made you sit back a little bit and look at the ceiling, but at the same time, no offense to Adam, he knows I'm joking, but it was good to see. It's great to see, and like I said, I think it raises the bar for all of us.
Hey, he felt the same way, I'm sure, when you went through him to make it to the Frozen Finals back in 18-19. But before I bring in the rest of the E crew to do the Maryland top 10, when we did your all-time team this past year, we actually combined some Wilkes-Barre guys in, just because there was such short history. We're not going to do that this time, because you have 3 years of history with Maryland. But I guess that the last tough maybe even broad question in a way that I have for you is, when you look back at your players that you had in Wilkes-Barre, is there one guy that you wish was able to come with you to Team Maryland and get that experience? That guy wasn't able to, but you wish that player had gotten the experience of what things are like in Maryland.
I'm going to get a lot of phone calls and texts after this answer.
Because some guys, there were a handful of guys that did get to follow you and your path down there,
Yep.
but not all of them.
Yep. I think there's been a lot of, and I say this all the time, right? Like, there's a lot of special kids, a lot of kids that have touched my career and have touched my heart, and you essentially grow with them. Obviously, like a kid like Arkapenko or Joseph Donahue was another one, because I spent a lot of time with him, especially in Wilkes-Barre in the youth program. But if there was one kid I wish that still had time and could have came, it would be Jake Fuss, hands down. And to this day, and that's what I mean about how special like this job is, and how special these players are, and to make an impact on their life, not just their career. To see him be able to play in the North American Hockey League his last year, and then ultimately, he's off at college and he just played in the national championship game.
Yeah.
Staying in touch and talking to him during that process and everything, to come here and start the program down here in Maryland from day one. If there was a guy that I'd want, it'd be him, and it's not just because of the player he is.
Of course.
It goes beyond that, but I know I'm going to get a lot of texts and phone calls for that. But Neil, you can go with a lot of guys. Anthony Starzy, he was another one. Rhett Paget, Josh Edwards. There was a couple guys that you just wish they had one more year and could have came with you, Sure. Again, all guys that stay in touch, and it's crazy. I don't mean to ramble on with this question, but it's crazy because they all care, about what's happening down here, and they didn't even play here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like it really is, and they obviously played with guys that did come here with me, but they're always checking in. I know a lot of them always, Johnny Jackson and his family, it's like we're playing somebody, and I always get a text the night before, go get them tomorrow, or, congrats on this. I know on social media when something's posted, that we've done or achieved, everybody reaches out. And again, it's not just players that were here in Maryland, it's players that were in Wilkes-Barre as well. So it's a tough question for me, but hands down, obviously, I think Fusser would have been a guy that I would have really, really liked to have here.
Tough question, but a good answer, and it gave the chance to mention a lot of names that we won't ever get to mention in quote unquote Team Maryland history. So want to thank you again for coming on the podcast, and hope you get a chance to enjoy the rest of the off season.
Thanks, Neil. I appreciate it, and you too.
Thanks again to Josh Fusco for coming on the podcast this week. Always a great interview to have him on. And heading into their now 5th year, hard to believe, for Team Maryland. But let's bring in the E crew now. And guys, we keep going back and forth from franchises that have a lot of history to franchises that are, in quotes, kind of new, right? Like it's still
new-ish.
It doesn't feel like 5 years still for Maryland, right? Like it's the same thing as when we had the Railers on. It's already season number 4 for them. It doesn't feel like we're going into the 5th year.
Yeah, no, it really doesn't. It feels like they've been around for a few minutes, but that's not the case anymore. We were just talking about that yesterday with this is going to be Josh Fusco's now 3rd season. Do we confirm that?
So no, it's going to be his 4th.
4th season.
He just finished his 3rd season.
Right. That's what it was. Okay.
So when we built this all-time team a year ago, Jeff, we factored in some Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knights players because of his history there. So I don't think we have to do that anymore. one, because the list is smaller, and two, because he's got enough years under his belt in Maryland. So,
Yeah.
but it's awesome to see how far the program has come from their very first year. I know we did this when we did the Railers, but I got to go back and look at the record book fast, because the Railers went from a 7-win team their first year, which was 18-19. And Maryland's first year, was that this year?
I just
Yes.
had it up.
10 wins.
Yeah.
Their first year, right? So
Yep.
they go from 10 to 23, 23 to
16.
well, because we didn't play as many games.
Oh, the shortened year. That's right. 38 games.
And then this past year went out and won 25 as a ready. Anthony and I like this because it makes us sound better. A fourth place team, not a last place team, a fourth place team.
Oh God.
It was the same as fantasy for us.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And they got, remember, they kind of went into the postseason. They kind of backed in a little bit this year, but I think everyone in the South didn't want to be the team that faced them at first, because the switch could have gone on, with a snap of a finger. So I think where the program is from when Josh took it over to where it is now, I mean, it's a light years difference for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And they got another bunch of guys committed. We'll talk about that. One of the top guys, one of our favorite guys I want to put on the list. He's number 2 all time in Team Maryland. He's going to play for Framingham State next year. Can you guess what player that is?
Do we want to say it right now?
Oh, you could just a little tease for the fans at home. Yes.
So, well, we got to start with the leading scorer in team history.
Yeah,
Bobby Geyer. I mean, there's no way he's not on this list, right?
3-year
scored that one goal against UMass Boston
that I almost missed.
Cameraman deal.
So let's start with Geyer. I got to get to my notes now. Almost reached the 100-point plateau also. And I think what's cool about Geyer, so he's part of a 4-player class that's heading to Alvernia this fall. That's going to be a new program in the UCHC.
Yep.
This 4-player class that we're sending, I would dub them as underrated, but really good, right? So you have Geyer, you have Tony Andrews from the Little Flyers, you have CJ Boyd from East Coast Wizards, and you have Will White from the ProTech Ducks. Underrated,
that's a good combo,
but really good.
Yeah, for sure.
Keep an eye on that class. So, but Bobby Geyer finished with, does this include, this is all-time totals. He finished with 93 total
93.
points. So just missed it, right?
Look at that. Have we had this is interesting too. We have 2 guys that are the guy I was just talking about tied for games played, 122 exactly, each of them.
Who was that?
Click that GP tab. You'll see number 2, Evan Donnelly.
Yes. Are we going
on here?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely putting him on here.
The big man, Evan Donnelly. No 3-year player, 64 points, a symmetrical 32 goals and 32 assists. Oh,
God, I love that. That is my freaking favorite.
Yeah, I mean, Donnelly's a good player. He always uses his size to his advantage. He was able to power his way around players, but he also had pretty smooth hands. He was able to shoot the puck well, and it wasn't a surprise to see that he was able to put the puck in the net for Maryland.
Yeah, big power play guy. They camp him out in the top of the blue paint, and he gets some tips and chips, and he's a big E-show guy. He always follows us on the Instagram and Twitter social media pages.
I got to tell 2 quick stories about Evan Donnelly because he's just such an awesome kid, right?
Yeah, he is.
So let's
always
go
smiling.
While he was in the league, right? So this was January of 21. Jeff, you probably remember this.
Yeah, I do remember that.
So Evan's mother was the billet coordinator for the EHL team / the full Team Maryland program. And they had this crazy situation where their house just got engulfed in flames and burnt down, right? And all of a sudden they launched this GoFundMe. And it shouldn't surprise us anymore how GoFundMe's work, but like it just exploded instantly. I remember like it got up to this 38,000 number like within like a week or so. So like crazy to like, and he was like so like, it's one of those kids where if it happens to anybody, I think the hockey community like would come out and try and show their support or whatever. But he's such an awesome kid. Like for me to get, this is part 2 of the story, to get like this message after the season ended also. Hey, Neil, I just wanted to reach out and thank you in the league for the past 3 years. This league has turned me into a much better player and an even better man. I would not be able to play college hockey without my 3 years here. It was truly an honor to wear the EHL patch for 3 seasons, and I definitely won't forget any of the memories. Like that's just like you get goosebumps.
You chills.
You really get goosebumps. Like when you get something like that, right? Like
for sure.
Like and that's who he is as a person, like away from the rink too, right? And then on the ice, as Anthony mentioned, like one of the bigger forwards in the league, but he had the hands. Like he could move and he could shoot.
Yeah.
Like
all the scouts would say that, you'd look at his size, you'd judge him and say, huh. And then you'd watch him move and you're like, oh, okay. And now he's going to play college hockey. So he's a good hockey player for doing that. And also has a great smile. He's missing a few chiclets.
Oh, wait.
He's got that hockey smile.
He was funny too off the ice because being in the South Division, I got to talk to them pretty often whenever they came to Jersey Shore Arena. And it was always fun talking to those guys. Donnelly would always be there. Bobby Geyer, talk to all of them. Dennis Archipenko, another player who will probably be on that top 10 list.
Yes, I'm trying to find the picture that Jeff is referring to because this was amazing. I know where it is. Hold on.
Is there one from All-Star Weekend?
No, I'm talking like the one with where Jeff was talking about the smile though.
Yeah, isn't there one of them from All-Star Weekend too?
Probably.
Chiclets.
I mean,
that's who they modeled the logo after.
There it is. That's a hockey smile right there, baby.
But yeah, I think Bobby Geyer and Evan Donnelly, both 3-year guys with the program, point getters, heart and soul guys, no doubt on this list.
Easy.
So
at number 3, do we go with Team Maryland jersey? Because we forgot how fresh their jerseys are. Does a jersey make an appearance as a top 10 player for the first time?
if we get stuck on number 10, we'll say that they're black
alternate
jerseys.
jersey.
Like their blacks were the best in the league. Like no question.
Look at the colors. Look at the flag, the state flag. Murray Gunty, the owner, very nice touch, Murray.
Yes. The name that Anthony just mentioned is definitely going to be on this list if I can get my computer to go. So I know we said that we weren't going to go based off of Wilkes-Barre Scranton really that time for Josh, but Dennis Archipenko is a combination of Wilkes-Barre Scranton and Maryland. I mean,
he had 2 full seasons for Team Maryland,
2 full seasons for Wilkes-Barre also. This
he's been everywhere.
This whole section should just be coached by Josh Fusco.
Yes.
2014, 2021.
Like just coached by Josh Fusco.
And the other thing
14-year AAA, 16-year AAA. Yep.
The other thing about Dennis Archipenko, up until this season, he was the all-time leader in games played in the EHL. The player to pass him this season was on the New England Wolves, Declan House.
That's right.
I did not know that.
Oh.
But thank you,
remember
Anthony.
you saying that, Anthony, actually. I remember did you say that on a podcast episode? I think you did. Or you wrote in one of your articles.
I don't know. I actually looked it up earlier today, and because I knew that Archipenko for a while was the all-time leader in games played for the EHL. I actually just realized that Declan House had passed him. So I'm actually kind of kicking myself for not realizing that earlier. But those 2 players have just been with the league for so long. And I think when you have that kind of longevity, you kind of make your mark in the league. And those 2, and since we're talking about Team Maryland today, Dennis Archipenko, and for that alone deserves to be on that list.
Yeah, for sure.
Another 2019 player started there. That gives us 3 so far. If we're sticking with the games count
The
or
journeyman, if you will.
the games played count. Like
Connor Ball.
Connor Ball was referred to as Josh as like the OG Team Maryland because he was the only player from the 18-19 team on the 2021 team. And 18-19 was their first ever year, right? Which was the year before Josh got there. So another 3-year guy went off to SNU. He actually got NE10 Rookie of the Week once this year at SNU. So I think we'd be remiss to not include what Josh called the OG member of Team Maryland.
Coached by Josh Fusco and now coached by Walshy.
Yes.
Walshy getting that NE10 Coach of the Year has to probably give Connor Ball a couple pats on the back, a little help from him.
There's 4 guys so far.
Ooh.
We're ripping through this thing already. I got to pull up this year's roster because I know we have Geyer already.
Do we throw out a goalie in Mr. John Werber? Left us early to go to Potsdam and absolutely killed it.
That's that's where we go back to Anthony's criteria. Do we hold it against him that he was only there for half the season, or do we make it? Does it make it?
I mean, he was
better
an
that
all-star too, so you gotta think there's some kind of credit there.
And their highest, Zach Richards is their all-time games played leader, 28 games.
As a goaltender?
Yeah. He played 23 games in 1920 and 5 games in 18-19.
Oh, that's a name I forgot about too, but he switched teams this season.
Who's that?
Just
Zach Richards?
pop up there. Mr. Jackson Bernard.
Oh, Bernard, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he would
only played 7 games, I think.
He may be an all-time Apple Core.
Apple Core? Yeah,
so
it has to be.
When we were at the All-Star Classic, I was standing up top in that like overhang, whatever section that's at the Iceton Arena. And Werber is down by the glass. Watching goalies warm up is fascinating. They all do like different things. Like a lot of them have like the tennis balls and they go off the wall like that. Werber had the puck, right? And he was like watching it go into his eyes. And I walked down and I was like, what are you doing? What's that? Man, like, what are you trying to do with that? He's like, well, I'm trying to track it right up against my face. And I was like, okay. He's like, I do it every game. It just helps me see the puck better. I was like, okay. Because like some guys, a lot of goalies in our league do the thing. I love watching goalies do that stuff with the water bottle also, where they like will squirt it and they'll watch for an individual drop to fall.
You know who told me that? Brandon Perrone, who used to play for the New Jersey Titans. Also, shout out to the Titans. They just won the North American Hockey League Championship.
Yep.
But yeah, it was Brandon Perrone who told me that. And I said, what, did you get that from like an NHL goaltender or something? He was like, yeah.
They all have their different quirks, right? Like the most common are the tennis balls against the wall. But then I'm watching Werber track the puck against his eyes. And then you see some goalies squirt the water bottle and watch one drop. It's like, I could never be a goalie.
Nope.
Like I can't get myself in that mindset to stop the rubber puck.
So, you're too normal to be a goalie, Neil.
Well, thank you for calling me normal.
But saying he's playing.
Like Werber this past year, when he left midway through the season, was 13-5-1 with a 2.17 and the 9.20. So he probably was the best goalie in Maryland history.
I think so. Looking at that list, most impactful, you would say too.
I mean, he was a big reason why at one point this year, or maybe numerous points this year, I said Maryland was going to the Frozen Finals.
Ooh.
And I never backed down off of that.
That take didn't end so well. And they started out real well.
It ended in 2 games.
They were leading that South.
Yes. I would put him on this list. What's funny is I technically am typing 2021, 22, but it's really just 2021.
True.
Right?
Yeah,
I think
there for the second half.
So, but that's 5 so far. Let me sort this thing again by points. So we have the top 3 scores in franchise history. We have the 5th ranked kid. And then I definitely want to go with a player ranked 4th who only spent 1 season, but he was awesome. Like Tristan Mock was the heart and soul for Maryland in that 1920 season. I mean, look at the points. 1 year, 59 points in 40 games.
Yep.
So let's put Tristan Mock in next. I remember that 1920 season. That was the year that our college team in the fall actually played 3 opponents. We played Fitchburg State, Salem State, and UMass Boston. And we tied Fitchburg, we beat Salem, we lost to UMass. And Mock said to me when the weekend was over, is there a way to keep this team together? And I said, what, and play the rest of the league? He's like, yes. I go, that would not be fair. Like, it's an all-star team. Like, I can't do that. He's like, better idea. Put this all-star team in the NA for the rest of the year. I was like, okay, interesting idea. I don't know if we could do that one either. He's like, we'd be sick though. I was like, okay, well, I think we all have to kind of go home now anyways, but
we're submitting ourselves as the new team.
Like, he had so much fun in that 3-day weekend that he wanted to like make it last forever, but he was huge on Team Maryland that year. They actually, what's funny, that was the playoffs that we didn't get to finish. They actually got to finish their series. That was a best of 3 series against the Little Flyers. That the Little Flyers won in game 3 on March 12th, 2020. Only reason I remember that is because that's the day that we had to cancel things. So I remember that game was wild because Maryland jumped out to like a 3-0 lead, and then the Little Flyers came back to win it. And Mark Catron from the Little Flyers said to me, because we won the last game like of the year, we are the EHL champions. And I was like,
oh yeah,
not quite how it works. But
it was
like,
everyone had their own spin. Well, we lost at the best record time. Well, we were the last ones to touch the ice in that year.
Well, I actually remember talking to both of them about that series when we resumed the following season. And I think it was Mark who told me that when they got on the bus, Josh sent him the text and said, hey, your season is over too.
Yes.
And told him how everything got canceled.
Yes. And I remember asking Josh that off season, like, was it better to have it end? Like, know that you had lost and the season was over, or would it have been better to have won the series and like not know what the future had like held? And I think I have to go back. I don't even know what episode of the podcast that was, but I think he basically said I would have rather obviously won the series and still had the mindset that we ended the year on a win. But whenever it comes to Little Flyers and Maryland, when they face each other, no matter what year it is, it's a toss-up.
Yeah.
So that's 6 so far.
Moving and grooving.
We have 1 player from this past season, or I should say 2 or 3, obviously. Donnelly and Guy are also. But, if we're talking just 1 year, do we put a player like Alex Newton on this list?
Yeah, I was going to say, I was looking at him earlier as someone like Newton, Will Rosen, McLean Bryce. I'm trying to remember. He was a point per game player. So Cody Rumsey too. That's another good one.
Cody was another follow Fusco to. That's weird. I did not click on that name.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he was a Wilkes-Barre Scrantonite.
Yep. Rumsey was really good too.
Yeah.
2
and now
seasons,
Franklin Pierce Raven. 2
seasons with Wilkes-Barre, 1 year with Maryland. Made it to the Frozen Finals this year. Wilkes-Barre was in the Frozen Finals that year, 18-19.
That's right. That was Johnny Jackson was on that team.
I like it, Anthony. So that
was the Thomas Walker led Wilkes-Barre Scrantonites.
Yes.
Yep.
We can name Halen Cookston on this list. Remember, he was part of the 2020-21 team.
Yep. That
then went on to Arcadia, part of underrated class that went to Arcadia, right? Speaking of the underrated class it's going off to Alvernia. So Rory Gresham, I remember him. He was the year I was good at fantasy. He was great for me.
Yeah, you're good.
My good season, the year I won, Jeff.
So not this year.
Not this past year.
Oh.
So we got 6 so far. I'm cool with Alex Newton on here next. I mean, he got defenseman of the week too many times to count. He was in the top plays too many times to count. Might as well be in the top 10.
And he was another guy that scouts were always watching at the showcases this year, always talking about his offensive prowess and two-way player.
Let's talk class of players going off to a certain school, right? So Alex Newton is going off to UMass Dartmouth. Listen to this class. Brandon Clark, Marshall McCallum,
Lumbies,
Pat Alto,
Chiefs,
Kevin Johnston,
Wizards,
James Metler, Matt Zdanowicz, Vinny Nicosia, and then Alex Newton. Like,
they're all going to Dartmouth? Is that the EHL All-Star team?
Absolutely stacked.
Came to fruition. It just became UMass Dartmouth. There we go.
Yes. So that's 7 so far. And we got a bunch of others that we haven't named from here yet. We've talked about Cody Rumsey, we talked about Halen Cookston. From that original 18-19 team, Connor Redden was their best forward on that 18-19 team. I mentioned Rory Gresham before. In terms of his second year, how about Nick Graziano?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolute legend.
Huge transformation
legend.
too. He
He was
transformed,
so
right?
fun this season.
He went from a PIMS monster to
Oh my god,
more of a sniper this year. No, but I remember we talked to Cliff at one of the showcases, and he goes, I told Nick he's got to wrangle it in a little bit, a little too.
I mean, look at
aggressive,
this.
And he worked on his game. He worked his butt off, he said, in the offseason.
2 assists.
Should.
2 assists in 15 games his first year with Maryland.
Yeah.
To 35 points and 37. Tack on another 30 or 3 in the post in their series against the Little Flyers.
Oh, and he actually had 2 extra PIMs. 69 PIMs versus 67.
God.
But he did it in more
Pim
games,
tracker.
so it's not as bad.
Right. 4 game-winning goals, though. Oh, big impactful. And he actually missed some time, too, didn't he? Did he miss some time? I think he was
With an
injured.
injury, yes.
They got banged up this year, too. That was another thing that kind of derailed them a little bit was the injury bug. But, yeah,
He was
Graziano
fun.
was a heck of a player.
He was fun when I interviewed him in April, I think it was, because his dad stopped me before he ended up coming in. And he was like, make sure you ask him about me. And I'm like, oh, God. Like, I'm
Cliff,
make sure to
actually.
throw that in there.
Cliff is so funny. And
Ask him who
I'd
helped him get
always
there.
see him. Anytime Team Maryland was at Jersey Shore Arena, I'd always see Cliff there too. And I'd always say hi to him. He was always just happy to watch his son play. And to really see Nick emerge as a top forward in the EHL. It was great to see because he had great numbers with the Renegades at the EHLP. So you knew that he wasn't in the league because of nepotism or anything. Like, he could play.
Yes.
And I mean, Fusco did a great job just really kind of unlocking his potential and just really getting him up to that level and helping him get that Division III commitment.
Yep.
Oh, he racked up 132 points as a EHLP premier player. Yeah.
Yeah. What, Jeff? While we're
With that
there,
final PIMS total out of it.
because we did the Vermont one this past week. Let's go. We talked so much with Vermont about their EHLP to EHL pipeline. So this is
Their
the first
transition
player,
team, yeah.
their first player that we've mentioned with Maryland. That's EHLP to EHL. Graziano left his mark as the 3rd all time in EHLP history. So
Still all-time leader in goals.
still the all-time
New
leader in
Jersey
goals.
Renegades, the official
Look at
EHLP
that.
team of Team Maryland.
Yes. So that gives us 8. And back to names we haven't mentioned yet.
Johnny
Cookson,
Jackson's another one too, by the way.
Alan Cookston, Cody Rumsey, Johnny Jackson.
He was a Wilkes-Barre Scrantonite into Team Maryland. Actually, I remember Fusco
Well,
got
he
Johnny Jackson
played-
at the trade deadline.
He played with the 87s.
Right, but remember Fusco
And then he got
for
traded
him.
to Team Maryland.
Yeah, and he was like, I think he put up like 16 points in 13 games I saw earlier when he went to Team Maryland.
Jeff, didn't I tell you? Because weren't you calling a showcase game for Team Maryland?
I think we
And
called that together, and you were talking to me about. I thought
No, I don't think I was.
no.
I don't think I was on the call with you for this one game, but I told you about Jackson. Like, hey, one thing that he's really good at, he's just always at the right spot at the right time. The puck always seems to find his stick where
And
he
he scored a
just scores
game-winning
goals.
goal.
And he cleaned up a rebound because he was driving the net. And I think I was standing next to you at the time, and I looked at you, I'm like, yep, there you go.
I'm pretty sure I threw it in and said, oh, well done, Anthony DePaulo. You called it. There it is. Makes you look like a smart man.
He's the son of the Philadelphia Flyers TV play-by-play, Jim Jackson, and their whole
Bernie,
family.
we love Bernie. Bernie's the best.
Bernadette, Johnny's older sister Dee. They're all just terrific people. That entire family. Can't say enough great things about them.
Yeah, for sure.
Flyers broadcaster and Phillies.
Oh, that's right. He does the Philadelphia Phillies.
Not anymore.
Oh, that was last season, I thought. I just remember a Bryce Harper grand slam that he called that I thought was like awesome. Is that this past season? I gotcha. This is Halen Cookston.
Hello, Halen.
Arcadia, 1 year in the EHL, combined 41 points. We talked about Cody Rumsey. We only had
a good commitment interview at one point too, didn't he? Did he do a good commitment interview with Brittany back that day? I remember.
Yes, he did do a commitment interview with Brittany. I remember that.
He was a good speaker. We don't always
get
those.
We only have 2 spots left.
That's it.
So let's do this. Below my email signature, we put who could take those 2 spots.
Yeah, all the names we've already mentioned. Oh, Jim McCabe's calling me right
now. Jeff, I want to come on.
He has ESP.
Is there anybody else that we could talk about here? I don't think Will Rosen's gonna make this list, but another actual player that came on the podcast this year, he was awesome.
I think an honorable mention to Patrick Doyle. He was also from the 87s, and when he got traded to Team Maryland, he was actually a big part of their offense for them. 25 points in 24 games.
Huge.
Yep.
I'm hoping that
or 22 points in 22 games.
I'm hoping that Maryland's bringing back JJ Creighton.
Yeah,
I think he would be a huge point or a huge member of their D core this year if they can bring him back. Who gets to pick first in fantasy week 1? Is that me? Because if we do, I'm probably picking him. Another name that I don't know if makes this was a captain for Team Maryland, Evan Green. He was part of that group that had Tristan Mock, that team, the 2019 team. So let's go back to this list, though. We got 8 so far. We got to pick 2 of the 4 that we've highlighted. Cody Rumsey, Halen Cookston, Johnny Jackson, or Rory Gresham. Pick 2.
I say Rumsey has to be one of them, I think.
Okay.
I don't know how you 4 feel, or you other 3 feel. Your votes.
Going once, going twice. If you say Rumsey, I also say Cookston. And I know that leaves off a couple really good players in Jackson and Gresham, but we only have 10 spots.
Yep. And that's why we talk about those players a little bit. It's kind of like an on-air honorable mention, as we've said. You're not on the list.
Bernadette's going to kill me if I don't get Johnny on that list. but counterpoint. Johnny did play for 3 different teams. He played for the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knights. He played for the 87s, and then he went to Team Maryland. So Jackson, great EHL player, but I think if we're talking about strictly Team Maryland, I think Cody Rumsey and Halen Cookston deserve to be on those lists.
Yep. I mean, and we've always kind of said that the tiebreaker in a little bit can be what you've done in college. Cody Rumsey this past year as a sophomore put up 24 points in 23 games at Franklin Pierce. That's a good year.
That is a damn good year.
So we got to put 2019-20 for Cody Rumsey and 2020-21. My ears are so messed up. I'm sure the same is for you, Jeff.
Oh yes.
Sometimes you get lucky, right? But that's our list. And I know I mentioned this at the beginning of this podcast, but that was tough for a team that's only got 5 years of history. Like this whole offseason has been tough. Who am I kidding? Right.
Yeah. Right. No, it is because you're pulling from a smaller, it's a smaller base to grab from, but they still had a lot of impactful guys, and it's a good looking team.
Going once, going twice.
I'm good with that list.
I gotta tell another story while we're here.
Time.
So I did a South road trip with Joe this year. Because I had never been to Maryland. So I saw on a Tuesday, I saw Chiefs Rough Riders in Connecticut. On a Wednesday, I saw 87s Maryland in Maryland. Thursday, I saw Little Flyers versus Colin Bella because he scored 4 goals. All 4 goals they scored in a win against
he was on my fantasy team that week.
Yes.
Was that the game where he broke the record, Neil?
Yes, correct. Yes, Anthony. That was at the Little Flyers, and then I saw Ducks Maryland on the way home. So first off, going down to Maryland, getting all the way down to Piney Orchard for tremendous rink, but greater appreciation for how far they travel. Oh my God. I was like, okay, now I get it. Like this is a haul, which is total credit to Josh for what he's built, because like it took every bit of I know I split it up, but it took every bit of 7.5, 8 hours to get down there
from New Hampshire.
Yeah. Like right. I'm so used to 2 lanes,
our league headquarters
and trees. Like there's just nobody. Like I'm in 5-lane highways where it's just stopped. It's like, this sucks. Yep. But it's cool what they have set up, because you walk in and up and to the right is a hallway that leads back to their, home locker rooms. And in that hallway, on one end is the gym that all the teams use. And then it's the midget teams, the NA team, and their team. And it's just an awesome setup because they're all together. All the coaches share the same office with each other, so they work together, right? So It was just kind of cool to see it all. and so we went down. I think the 87s actually won that game. I know Anthony's cheering. But so the 87s win the game, and we watched the game with the team president, Andrew Goldman. And Andrew's like, why don't you guys come talk to Josh and say bye afterwards? And Joe says, we're going to see him Friday at Pro Tech on the way back home. Like maybe after a loss, it's not a good idea. And Andrew was like, no, you got to come in. You got to say bye to Josh on the way out. Just quickly. So we go in, we're waiting in the locker room. I cannot repeat half the stuff that I heard. Because obviously it was at a point in the year where on this podcast we were talking, it was February, every point was critical, and Josh was just laying into his team because they had just been shut out and didn't show as much heart as they wanted to, and he's going and going, and as he's going, Joe looks at me and goes, we should probably leave. And we almost got out of there before Josh turned the corner and saw us. But he turns the corner, sees us, follows us outside, was like, that escalated kind of quickly. I was like, you mean you escalated kind of quickly? He's like, yeah, but I think they got the message.
Yep.
Welcome to hockey. I will say though, Neil, I have not been to Piney Orchard Arena yet, and I would definitely love to check out that arena. Having watched games when the Titans would have to play against the Black Bears, and then 87s versus Maryland games. I also know that they have a glass case where the broadcaster sits in. I know Zwerb was doing the games for Team Maryland. Shout out to him. I thought he did a fantastic job for Maryland.
Oh, for sure.
His first year with the team.
I met him down there. I was actually knocking on that piece of glass, and I said, "You're in a box." It's like he's in a penalty box, right? But they have a little sign there that says "Quiet Hockey TV Broadcast in Session." Like it's an awesome setup. I give them all the credit in the world for how far they've come in just 4 years. And I know I joked about this earlier, but their Frozen Finals appearance is coming for that group. Like it's coming sometime soon. So, but that does it for Team Maryland. I'll read off once again so we know it the top 10, because it's a good mix of a little bit of past and present also. So Bobby Geyer, Evan Donnelly, Dennis Archipenko, Connor Ball, John Werber, and Tristan Mock, Alex Newton, Nick Graziano, Cody Rumsey, and Halen Cookston. It's a pretty solid top 10. So that does it for Maryland. Our top 10s are actually going to take a short break here. And when I say 2-week break, I actually mean it this time.
See you in 6 weeks.
So dropping this on June 2nd. I'm away on the 9th and 16th. It's gonna sound it's pre-recorded, as you all know. So on the 9th, we're gonna have an episode featuring the 2 new EHL teams, the Philly Hockey Club and HC Rhode Island. And then on the 16th, we'll have an episode featuring all 3 new EHLP teams, the Adirondack Junior Thunder, the Union Junior Thunder, and the Pennsylvania Huntsmen. So there's your plan for the 9th and 16th. And then we'll return with the top 10s on the 23rd. So I promise you, it's just a 2-week break.
Sounds good, crew.
We actually went south, and then I think we went central. So that means on June 23rd, we have to return with central.
Back to the central.
We've already done the Railers.
Should we do the
We
Hosses?
go Apple Core.
Hosses are core?
It's Rough Riders, Apple Core, or Chiefs, because we'll have covered Rhode Island and we'll have covered Railers so far.
Maybe let's do a Connecticut team first.
Okay.
And then next time we go to Central, we can get Apple Core and then get the other Connecticut team next. Just
great.
Spread it out a bit.
I like that. So on June 23rd, cliffhanger, it will be one of the Connecticut teams. You have to find out then. So
tune in.
But we'll talk to you guys, I promise, in 2 weeks.
See you guys then.
Thanks for listening to The E Show. Learn more at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when next week's podcast is released.